It's once again a Monday, which means for the RPM Garage YouTube channel that we are back with another fantastic car from the inventory. Today, it's something truly, truly special, and I know I've said that a lot lately, especially with the past couple of videos. Of course, that Lamborghini we had a couple weeks ago is linked up here somewhere, and of course we also had the GMC Typhoon, which is also going to be linked above me at some point throughout the video. Today, though, it's truly, truly special once more, and this is a 2020 Toyota GR Mark V Supra, which is the best of modern Supras today. It has been fully equipped with all of Toyota's favorite options, and it is absolutely stunning. Now, I will dive into exactly what makes this car so great in just a minute, but I wanted to first address the rising question: is this a BMW? Frankly, yes. I'm not going to deny that pretty much every part of this car, except for its exterior panels, belong largely to BMW. But I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. So, without further ado, let's dive into what makes this car so special, tell you a little bit more about why I think you personally should buy it, and let's go have a deeper look inside. Now that we've addressed the elephant in the room, we have to talk about how great this car looks. Now, if you are familiar with this car, then you're likely familiar with the concept that was released by Toyota a few years before this car officially released. Now, that car was called the FT1 concept, and it looked absolutely beautiful. And there are a certain number of people who wish that the current Supra looked exactly like the concept. However, Toyota did not produce exactly the FT1 and instead produced this, and I love it. This has some of the best styling of any car in Toyota's current lineup, and it's very, very hard to argue that claim. Now, obviously, if you're familiar with the Supra lineage as a whole, then you'll know that this car takes a lot of styling traits from its predecessor, the Mark IV Supra. Now, one such trait is, of course, these very, very nice headlights. They do have a very similar shape, although they are a bit more modern and a bit more angular. And, of course, the shape of the car as a whole is very reminiscent of the Mark IV Supra, if, once again, a bit adapted for modern times. As a whole, this car looks absolutely brilliant from the factory. But, of course, there have been a couple of things that have been done to it. One such thing is that carbon fiber ducktail at the back. Now, obviously, you can see that from where you're sitting. I can kind of see it, but not completely, and I still think it looks absolutely incredible on this car, which is part of the reason I put you guys where you are, because it shows off every inch of this fantastic exterior. Another thing you may or may not be able to tell is that these panels right here are also carbon fiber, and they look perfect. They're very, very subtle panels, but they look very, very nice indeed. Now, the other thing, too, is that these wing mirrors have been wrapped in a very nice matte black. Now, that stands out perfectly against the white paint of this car, which is another feature that I truly, truly love about it. In regards to the platform, though, coming back to the BMW versus Toyota debate, the suspension is BMW. The brakes most often belong to BMW, and that's okay. Once again, I truly respect that Toyota was willing to go to a performance genius, if you will, for their advice in building a performance car, because in modern standards, I do believe that a lot of people would have been let down by a truly Toyota-built Supra. You see, the Toyota Supra has a bit of a reputation for being brilliant, especially among younger viewers of JDM and Supra content. And that's okay, that's great, but it does leave a bit of a high expectation for Toyota's next car, the Mark V. Now, obviously, it would have been difficult for Toyota, who hasn't produced a performance-oriented car in several years now, to come up with all of the parts that necessarily would have created a car that lived up to all of those expectations. BMW, on the other hand, was just about to revamp the new Z4, and of course, that made the perfect platform for Toyota Supra. So just about everything under the hood, and of course under the body panels, belongs to a BMW Z4. Now, I personally have driven a BMW Z4 recently, one of the new ones, and I can assure you, once we get further into the interior, that they are very, very similar indeed, but they are not identical, and I will be more than happy to point out some of the differences between the two and explain why I love the Toyota Supra just a little bit more. With that in mind, let's dive under the hood to talk a little bit more about what's going on there, and then we'll dive into the interior and then finish out the video. I am not one to dispel rumors that this is very, very similar to a BMW, but there are a few, so I want to just take a second to prove them just a little bit wrong. Now, on most cars, when you open the hood, it opens very normally. For example, you'd pop open the door as such, reach down and pull the release latch, and that would pop the hood and enable you to, of course, go around to the front, pull the release lever, and then lift the hood. But, as I said, it's a BMW platform, which means that you have to pull the hood release twice, and then the hood just opens, which is great, because then it reveals this, a 3-liter turbocharged straight-six engine. Now, Supra diehard fans will know that this is more or less the same style of engine that was in the Mark IV Supra, and that is, of course, a very good thing. However, this is, of course, a BMW engine. And once again, I don't really have a lot of complaints about that, because BMW has spent the last few decades perfecting their turbocharged straight-six engines, making them both more reliable, more powerful, and all around better. And of course, this is no exception. This produces 335 horsepower, according to the manufacturer, but some people were brave enough to dyno them the minute they drove them off the factory lot. And they found that these engines actually produced just a little bit more. And there are a couple of theories as to why that might be. Some say that it's Toyota trying to be conservative about their horsepower estimates so that, of course, people will be pleasantly surprised when they find out it makes a little bit more. And other people said it was BMW's doing, who wanted it tuned down so that you had the option to buy the less powerful, slightly less expensive Supra, or the more powerful, more expensive convertible top Z4 M40i. Either way, it produces quite a bit of horsepower, but this is not a stock engine. As you may or may not hear later in the video, this is a very, very tuned engine once more. So, beyond BMW's factory tune on it that makes it pretty aggressive, all things considered, it has an aftermarket tune on it as well. And when you engage the throttle a little bit aggressively, you'll hear a significant amount of pops, bangs, and feel a great amount of power delivery, which is awesome. And of course, that noise from those pops and bangs is only amplified by the full exhaust system that has been attached to the back. And of course, I will have a startup video for you later in the video, and it is a truly masterful sound, so please stick around for that. A couple of other interesting performance features that this car offers, not necessarily under the hood, but in the interior, are an 8-speed automatic transmission with both paddle shifters and the, sequential shifter automatic thing, which is both very nice. They're both very fun to use, and of course, they're both very, very fast shifting. I enjoy personally using the paddle shifters because I, for one, if I'm driving a true manual, like to enjoy, doing the actual stick shifts. So a sequential shifter kind of ruins that for me just a little bit. But I am all for this being an automatic, and I think it's very, very nice that it is, because it offers such fast shifts and allows you to utilize just about every ounce of torque and power that this car has to offer. Now, I did, of course, say the power figure was 335, but I should also mention that it does make 365 pound-feet of torque. Now, that is, of course, before the tune. After the tune, it obviously makes just a bit more. You also have the ability to select your drive mode. You can choose to engage sport mode, which does make it bang and pop just a bit more, and of course makes it a little bit more aggressive to drive, which is insanely fun to take advantage of, and I highly recommend you do so. Of course, the other thing that you have the opportunity to do is play around with the traction and suspension settings just a little bit, but we'll talk about that a lot more when we dive into the interior. Now, as you may or may not be wondering, this car is, of course, rear-wheel drive, which means that it is the perfect setup for some driving fun, if you know what I mean. I.e., you can kick the tail out a little bit, and it gets down when you put your foot down, making it insanely fun to launch. That being said, let's dive into the interior and talk a little bit more about what's going on in there. Like the Lamborghini video, I have absolutely no fault whatsoever with the interior of this car. In fact, I might even have less fault with this interior than I do with the Lamborghinis. However, I am just a bit too tall and a bit too clumsy to be sitting in this very low interior and on camera at the same time. But there are still a lot of great things to talk about. First off, once again, we have to address BMW versus Toyota. This interior is nearly 100% BMW, and again, I take no issue with that. Frankly, first off, I'm going to pop up a picture here of the BMW interior, and then a picture, I guess, further over, because that's more in the shot, of the Toyota interior side by side. They are very, very similar, and you probably won't find too many differences between them, which is a very good thing when you think about it. A BMW Z4 typically runs you quite a bit more than a Toyota Supra. Now, once you start adding and subtracting options, it does kind of get a little more equal, but nonetheless, the point remains true. That being said, you get just about every single piece of interior equipment that you would in a BMW as you do in this Toyota, which is really kind of nice, especially because BMW does offer a lot of interior kit with their cars. First off are the bucket seats. Now, they are a black stitched leather bucket seat, and they are extremely comfortable and supportive. And I know I say that about all bucket seats in this YouTube series, but I'm very consistent in liking them. This especially is true because it is, once again, a BMW Toyota hybrid, mainly BMW. When it comes to features and technology and amenities, this car has a beautiful infotainment display with navigation, Bluetooth phone connectivity, a rear camera, all the goodies that you'd expect from a BMW or a modern Toyota, but it also offers a couple of other cool highlights and features. Now, like I said, this has a lot of digital stuff in it, so the instrument cluster as well is also digital almost entirely, making it very, very futuristic to be inside of. And of course, it does have a heads-up display, which is pretty sick, especially because, well, it's a Toyota, and I don't remember the Mark IV Supras having any kind of heads-up display. Nonetheless, going forward, this car also has quite a bit of carbon fiber inside as well, which is nice because it perfectly complements the carbon fiber outside. Some of those panels are centered around the gear stick and, of course, in the interior center console trim pieces as well. Altogether, it is a very, very well-rounded interior, and once again, comparing BMW to Toyota, it is very, very nice to see how many interior amenities that Toyota was able to get for the Supra from the Z4. I feel like the majority of manufacturers wouldn't have been quite so willing to share, so I do appreciate all of those amenities, and it's one of the reasons that I do think that the Supra of today offers a bit more than the Supras of yesterday, and that's okay, but it is worth, of course, noting. That being said, let's take a few minutes to wrap up the video, and then of course we will do a startup just for you guys. So there you have it, a great car produced by two great manufacturers, and quite frankly, it's hard to take fault with this car if you're not a huge Mark IV Supra fanboy, and even if you are, there are, of course, many features that you should consider if you're truly willing to accept that this Supra is very, very nice. But of course, this Supra is very nice, so you have to ask, how much does it cost? Now, the base MSRP of this car with absolutely no upgrades done to it was $49,999, so essentially $50,000. And of course, this is a low mile car. It only has 24,000 miles on its BMW engine, so it is, of course, reasonably reliable and very, very long lasting. As a result of this, and of course the extensive upgrades that have been done to it both under the hood and to the exterior, and the maximum optioning it has received both inside and outside, this car is currently priced at $52,991, which is a fantastic deal, all things considered. Now, personally, once again, I've been saying this a lot lately, but if I had the money to buy one of these cars, I probably would. However, I don't, so I can only urge you to come into RPM Garage today, check it out, maybe even take it for a test drive, and of course, if you're able to do so, buy it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate each and every one of your support on this channel, and I know that the entire RPM team does as well. Please also don't forget to check out our Instagram, our TikTok, and our Facebook pages, and of course our inventory link is below as well. We do have some merch coming very, very soon to the channel as well. And once we release that, we'll be more than happy to sell that to you instead of a car, or if you're willing, perhaps with a car. So, of course, don't forget to also like, share, and subscribe to the RPM Garage YouTube channel, and we will catch you in the next one.